Hello and welcome to this special edition of Tiger Talk. I want to introduce myself. I'm Blake Cooper, Superintendent of Schools for Commerce ISD. And our special guest today is probably one of my closest friends in this business. We've known each other over 30 years. Currently the Superintendent of Sunnyvale ISD, right over next to Mesquite, and that is Doug Williams. Originally from Aberfoyle, if I might say, the thriving metropolis right just north of here.
That's correct. We're a suburb of South Sulphur. So, yeah, native Hunt County boy. It's great to be here today, Blake.
Doug is a alumnus of East Texas State University and did all of his administrative work here also, so we have that kindred spirit also. So I want to talk about a few important subjects that deal with a uniqueness of Doug and his superintendent, Sunnyvale ISD and Commerce, but also for education in general, public education. As we know in today's climate of the legislature, we are battling a lot of folks, and the representatives and the senators have been in Austin now for a few months, trying to figure out the best way to handle public education in Texas. And so what I want to do is just visit with Doug about that and see how, in this first topic especially, what's unique about Sunnyvale and Commerce and our differences. But yet even in our differences, Doug, the similarities and the things that we have, and that is school finance. You know, right. We know we just had the lawsuit.
Right.
And tell the audience, if you don't mind, the uniqueness of Sunnyvale in relation to Commerce.
Sunnyvale is a property-wealthy school district. We're located just outside of Mesquite. We're in eastern Dallas County. We've got about 1,300 kids in our school district, so we're a small school district. Primarily our wealth comes from, we do have some industry in town, but we have quite a few high-dollar homes, rooftops. We are considered a Chapter 41 or a Robin Hood school district. A portion of our tax base is sent back to the state. Most of our parents, students would be considered upper middle class in socioeconomic. We have a very low free and reduced lunch, economically disadvantaged rate, currently at about 8%.
And in contrast to Commerce ISD, we are 70% free and reduced lunch.
Right. So the school districts are dissimilar from that standpoint. I think the similarity or the common bond, first of all, part of it is the fact that you and I work closely together on a number of projects. Therefore, our staffs have gotten to know each other and work together. But more than anything, we try to do what's best for students, as Commerce ISD does as well. And one of the things that I believe in, and because I am from Hunt County and have spent a lot of times in small school districts across East Texas in my career, is the state has to do what's best for all kids. And that's where we are currently, as not just in Sunnyvale, but across the state of Texas. So.
Well, and I think that's what's so unique probably about some of the what we call 41 schools, and that is that where you differ from some of the 41 schools, and I don't want to put words in your mouth here, but we've had a lot of discussions,
right,
obviously, about this, is that you understand when it comes to funding public education in the state of Texas, you agree that we do need to find a figure and fund it. Now, what a lot of you viewers might not understand, for example, when in Commerce, Texas, and Commerce ISD, back 3 years, 3.5, almost 4 years ago, we had what was called a TRE, or tax ratification election, and we actually raised our tax rate, the maximum allowable, by the state of Texas. We got the full benefit of that tax rate. The difference in Sunnyvale ISD, if they say raise your tax rate 10 cents, and get me wrong, how much of that goes to actually goes to Sunnyvale ISD?
Right. We don't have the same latitude to raise our tax rate in what's called golden pennies in our business. If we went to our voters and asked them to raise our taxes a certain level, then if you, let's just say we decided to do a 10-cent TRE, then of those 10 cents, we would only be eligible to keep 6 cents of it by formula. So about 40% of any additional monies would go, would have to be sent back in increased Chapter 41 or Robin Hood payments. So it doesn't make sense for our voters to go out and pass that type of tax referendum. You know, Blake, when you're talking about state finance and you're talking about the recent ruling in Austin in the state finance legislation, or not the legislation, but in the court case, there were 3 main points that were brought up. The first point was all schools should be funded equitably, and it's not. The difference between the equitable level at the Tier 1, the base allotment level for Sunnyvale and for Commerce is not the same. We are funded at about $5,700 a kid, and I think your rate's somewhere around $5,000. So that there is inequity in Tier 1. The second thing is it was ruled that the system is inadequate, meaning that there's not enough money that is being given per student to schools to properly educate the kids across the state. And then, you know, the third thing is there has to be meaningful discretion in the tax rate, and because we are, in fact, we are not able to go out and get those extra pennies, then we don't have meaningful discretion. We are actually at, for lack of a better term, our tax limit, which currently is $1.02. You know, so those 3 things have got to be corrected. I don't know what the complete answer is. You know, I'm not a statewide finance expert, but it makes sense for your Tier 1 level, for your basic allotment level that all schools should be able to get, that should be an equal level. The second issue should be that schools should be funded adequately, and we've got to pick a level, and we've got to be able to take school districts to that level funding-wise. And then the third thing is local decision about what that tax rate should, decision about what a tax rate should be locally controlled. And that's
the major issue right there. I mean, and that's always been my argument. When a student in another district, when they tax at $1.04 and they get $7,500 a student, we tax at $1.17 and we get $5,000 a student. There's an issue there, and that's the inequity that we're talking about. And I believe, and again, I agree, we agree, that's the one thing we do agree on in regard to school finance. We need to find a level. This is what it takes to fund education in the state of Texas for our students. Every kid needs this, and then give back to the local